Hi guys, it's Misty from the Book Rat, and today I am going to be sharing a little teaser as well as my initial thoughts on the book As She Fades as part of the As She Fades blog tour. The full synopsis as well as links to the book will be below the video, so you can find out more about that there and click through to pick up a copy or add it to your shelves. And I will also leave a link to the other stops on the tour in case you're curious what other people had to say. But I'm going to get straight into a little excerpt so you can get a feel for the style. Now it starts with a poem by Edgar Allan Poe and then like a little, I guess, preface that's just a tiny bit too cheesy for me, so I'm going to skip over that straight to chapter 1 and give you a little sneak peek of that. Now briefly, the idea behind this book is that the main character Vale and her boyfriend Crawford have it all planned out. They're going to be together forever. They've been together already forever. They're going away to college together. All that. It's mapped. And then there's an accident, and Crawford ends up in a coma, and everything changes. So that's kind of the basic preface behind this, and all you really need to know for this excerpt. There's more to it. That'll be in the synopsis. You can find that out down there. Okay. From chapter 1. The smell of summer evenings always made me feel happy. Since I was a girl, it was the reminder that school was over and adventure awaited. Swimming in the lake, playing basketball with my older brothers, and of course our annual family vacation. However, this year it meant freedom, a new life, a new beginning, for me and Crawford. I glanced over at him driving, and the warmth in my chest grew at the sight of him. We had been together since we were kids, first as friends, and then it grew into more as we got older. Today, we had walked across the large stage set in the center of our high school football field and received our diplomas. We were graduates. Finally. Still seems hard to believe it's over. High school, I added for clarification, although I was sure he would understand what I meant. He cut his eyes toward me, and the corner of his lips curved up just enough for his eyes to sparkle the way they did when he was amused or pleased. It's not over. It's just beginning, V. Our life will be exactly like we planned it. I wanted to believe that. We were going to the same college. Crawford had a scholarship for football, a full ride. It wasn't my first choice for school, but I wanted to be where he was. We had never been apart. Everyone seemed almost scared tonight, like they were drinking and partying to forget the fact that we're adults now. This is it. Crawford shrugged. I bet most of them are terrified. They don't all have plans like we do. They have to decide what's next. He was right, of course. He always was. One of the things I loved about Crawford was he was confident. He didn't worry and back away from a problem. He faced it head on and took control. I felt safe with him, like he would always have the answer I needed. His hand reached over and covered mine. Our life is going to be amazing. College is going to be just what we need, to get out of this town, but not too far away. We can spread our wings and still come home to visit easily enough. You're going to love it. And I believed him. My mind was playing through all the fun things we would see and do. Excitement for what was to come bubbled up in me, and I was so ready for August to arrive. Our favorite song came on the radio, and Crawford turned it up and began to sing along with his off-key voice. He was a terrible singer, but he knew it made me laugh, so he did it often. Joy swelled up in me for the life I had, so strong it was hard to contain it. I began to laugh as he hit another bad note. This was my life, and I loved it. It was then that Crawford slammed on the brakes, and the world began spinning. The smell of burning rubber and the violent screeching of wheels took away all my other thoughts. Dreams vanished in that instant. Completely. So that is a little teaser of the style and the kind of tone of As She Fades. Now on to my general first impressions. I don't know if you can tell from the way I read it, because I tried to kind of make it feel natural in the way I was reading it, but the sentences can tend to be very staccato, and a lot of them are sentence fragments, which some people enjoy that style. I personally really don't. I'm okay with sentence fragments, and I'm okay with some staccato sentences, but I think that there needs to be a mix. It needs to be balanced to feel natural. Otherwise you start getting into this like rhythm of da-dun, 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 and there's not enough variety and interestingness to keep you fully focused, I guess. Like, I think your brain just starts to be lulled and then you tune out. And I noticed that as I kept going, the sentences, the structure, the way things are delivered all started to feel very samey, and it also all started to feel a little immature, I guess. I feel like I've been saying this about a number of books recently, and I hate to say that because it's starting to make it seem like it's just me really being nitpicky, but a few books that I've read recently have felt very juvenile in their writing, like they were written by high schoolers. And I know some of you will be like, well, if it's meant for high schoolers, what's it matter if it seems like it's written by high schoolers? And it's not to say that some high schoolers can't write fantastically. But there is a tendency in younger, less developed writing to lean very heavily on telling rather than showing, and to have very simplistic and repetitive sentence structures and by the book's overall structure of this is going to happen, they're going to say this, I'm going to say that they said this, like everything almost, I guess, shows a lack of confidence and development in that you're not sure that you're conveying what you want to convey, so you try to lay it out there a little too much, and then it just becomes wooden in a way, and I feel like this did have a tendency to do that. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I think if I picked this up in a bookstore and read just the first few pages, which is generally how I'll determine whether I'm going to buy something, I don't flip through the whole book, I just see if the beginning pulls me in, I probably would have put this down and walked away. The style and the narration, the character that's being built through the narration, aren't something that would have necessarily pulled me in. Kind of going further in and reading, I read maybe about 40 pages or so to form my impressions. I still kind of ended up on the fence. I still feel like that. I think it's starting to get into things that might change my mind, and according to the synopsis, everything is going to change, and so maybe there will come a point where it would flip and I would suddenly really like it, or I would get used to the style and just kind of tune that out. As it is now, I was kind of wanting more. I was wanting more development, and I was wanting more confidence in the story and more interestingness in the narration. Something that feels a little more natural and real and relatable rather than almost there but not quite, but enough off for it to be like a constant thread that's just eating at you in the back of your mind. I feel like it's going to have that kind of going for me. Again, this could just be me being picky, and it is a personal pet peeve when things are very tell heavy and not show, or very repetitive in the actual structure of the story. Not what's happening, but in the telling of it. That's a big one for me. There are other ways that it feels a little formulaic too, and again, I don't know if that's going to change or not, and I know that it is something that will appeal to a lot of people, and that it's a formula that plenty of people do like, so if you are a contemporary fan and the synopsis appeals to you, you might not have the problems that I have with it at all. And I am curious to see how it's going to change based on how it starts. So when she finally goes away to college and is interacting with this other boy, Slate, who, don't even get me started on him in the beginning of the story, just cheesy city. Once they kind of get to that part of the story, maybe it will win me over, I don't know. But for where I kind of left off, which, I mean, it's not the longest book, so yeah, it's only 240 pages. So I read a fair little chunk of it, and kind of where it stands now, I just don't know. But I'm curious to see when things change and when the kind of setting changes, how much the story and the telling of it changes. So I'm not sure at this point whether it would be a DNF for me or whether I would keep going. I do think it will find an audience that will really like it. And I'm curious about the title, because it's As She Fades, but her boyfriend's the one in the coma, so there are some things there that intrigue me. I just don't know if there's enough there to make up for some of the flaws that are kind of holding me back right now. So those are my kind of general thoughts on As She Fades. I know, kind of negative, and maybe I'm just assuming too much or being a little too harsh. And as I said, I'm sure that it will find an audience that's going to love it. I am positive about that. Just maybe not for me and for those who tend to have some of the same pet peeves or reader expectations. If you've read it or have been wanting to read it. I'm curious to hear your thoughts in the comments, and as I said, I will leave a link to the rest of the blog tour so you can see other people's thoughts and whether they had any of the issues that I did. But that is all for this video and this first impressions. If you'd like to see more first impressions or excerpts of any other recent or upcoming releases, definitely let me know. Have a little trawl through my book hauls and see if anything catches your eye, because I have a lot of books that could probably be featured in some way, and a first impressions might be the way to do it. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. But that is all for now. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, happy reading!